Hey everyone, it's Kat from the Austin Downbeat. Thanks so much for joining me. This week I talked to A. Sinclair. You know him well. He's kept pretty busy lately over the last year and now with other projects, including Booher, Shut the Light, Cheetah Cheetah, and Prismavoix. He's taken a little bit of a break from A. Sinclair stuff, but lucky for you and me, when you listen to this conversation, you'll learn that he's working on some good A. Sinclair songs, and hopefully we'll have those maybe by the end of the year. Uh, Wonderful guy. I loved talking to him. And again, check out these bands: Booher, Shut the Light. By the way, Shut the Light plays at Hole in the Wall on February 23rd. That's a local hardcore band, so make sure you're ready for that. But I've listened to it and it's good. It's really, really good. Also, Cheetah Cheetah, a new project where his wife is on the drums, which is so freaking cool. So I'm sure they're gonna be playing some shows soon. So look for Cheetah Cheetah, and also Prismavoix, playing with them as well. So many opportunities to see A. Sinclair outside of his own body of work. Please enjoy my conversation with him. He's lovely. Here is A. Sinclair. All right, welcome to the show, A. Sinclair.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm happy to have you. Um, we met through a dear friend of mutual friend of ours, Booher, who you also play with. Let's jump in and talk a little bit about, I know you guys have a rich history and a long history together. How would you describe your relationship with Booher?
I would say he's one of my longest running best friends, probably. Our high school bands used to play shows together when we were like 15. He grew up with my cousin like since kindergarten. That's how I met him. They lived across town in Houston. So when I'd go see my cousin, kind of later on in the teenage years, I finally met Booer through music and everything. And they're also close. They're still friends as well. So yeah.
And did you guys have an instant connection? Was there a band that maybe you guys sort of bonded over? Or what was that instant connection for you with him?
Yeah, there was a band called Drive Like Jehu that we both really liked. And so I think my cousin John had told me that he knew I liked this band, and he told me that his friend Booer did. Booer's band at the time was called Squirrel Tribe,
Hmm.
and um, and so we knew each other, but we hadn't really bonded yet. And then so that time when we both found out we both really liked that band, next time we saw each other, we sat down and listened together, and like we were just both freaking out about it.
Yeah, I love that. Music is so powerful in that way where it fills in so much of a maybe like a missing language, I guess, where two people can really just go point to it and go like, yeah, me,
Yeah,
you, yeah.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
totally.
I love that. As I'm listening to your music to prep for this conversation, I found myself really gravitating toward the album you put out in 2016, called Get Out of the City. It, I love there's almost like some punk and ska, and it just kind of like made me feel really nostalgic to some of my earlier days of discovering music and different genres of music that maybe I didn't listen to first in my life. Um, what are some of your deep, maybe genre inspirations, but what is kind of deep in your, musical soul that you kind of that sustains you now to this day of what you create?
That's a confusing question. What are you asking me?
Like, yeah, like what kind of music is at your core that still
Okay,
sustains you to this day, where
kind of
like
music.
you kind of create from that place?
Sure. I've always been more about songs than really genres, I think.
Hmm.
I like songs. So like I can hear a song, like I can connect to a song in anything if it speaks to me, you know? I mean,
Hmm.
I grew up on like heavy, noisy music, but I um I always gravitate. Yeah, I don't know that I think of genre or a kind of music as that important to me as much as hearing a song that like really touches or moves me, and I'm like, God, I want to hear that song again. And
Mm,
then whoever that song is, that might lead me down a path to listen to more of that music. But yeah, I think it's always been more about songs for me than genres.
yeah.
Is that a good answer? Or
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
of course. Yeah, I'm just curious because, again, one of the things that I was really hearing is it does feel very song. Listening to your music feels very, each song feels like it's its own kind of standalone thing. They feel very dynamic, layered, and like the music is just as important as the lyrics. Sometimes you hear music and it feels very much one or the other, you know?
right. Yeah,
So I always, when I'm listening to music, it always stands out when the songs are dynamic and maybe like when my attention is really held in a different way throughout the entire song. That's
right.
what I'm always really, I would say most interested in listening to. That kind of like catches where I'm noticing that I'm staying interested.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
I
love
bet,
like beat changes and just like
right.
pattern changes, and so I'm real sensitive to those things and I notice them. um and
I
so
love to do that stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, you have like 25 choices when well, you have more choices than that when you're writing a song. So like, let's choose cool things, you know?
yeah.
And it feels like you do that. Is that just natural? Have you always
So,
kind of written that way?
so I think you kind of said it right. Like, so I did grow up on mostly like, I always liked loud, noisy, weird music when I was a kid, and I always liked what you just said, where beats, dropped beats, and weird time signatures or weird
Yeah.
parts that are a little dissonant. That's the kind of music I really grew up on that I always liked. So that's definitely always stuck with me. And what you said about having the music be as important as the lyrics, I kind of always felt that way since I started writing when I was a kid. Like I wanted the music to sound like really interesting before lyrics were even. And to me, that's something like it just. I don't know if it's a weird place to go, but just like the early Metallica records are like that. The music is crazy. Like you can just listen to that stuff, without. So I remember thinking about that when I was a kid, like listening to Injustice for All or Master of Puppets, and just being like, "This is so cool." Because if nobody ever sang, it wouldn't matter because, like,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then that band Drive Like Jehu that I was talking about that me and Booher bonded over is like all very mathy and kind of all over the place and really noisy and dissonant and screamy. Yeah.
Yeah. My question came up when I was listening to one of your songs where it was real. I thought, oh, an instrumental, because it's real instrumental. And then you start singing. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Um, what? Because I've played music my whole life and I've written and all that stuff, but it made me think, how do you write something like that? Like, where is your brain at? Because I don't think I certainly have never written anything with that entry point. So is it just innate in you because that's just maybe how you've been doing it for so long, or that's comes naturally? Do you have to write in a different way, or what's the process like for you when you're
I
writing?
I think I've always been like that. I will overwrite. Like, so I sent you some music. I don't know if you got listened to it, but
I
like
did.
I have a new project with my wife called Cheetah Cheetah, and it is fairly simple. And
Hmm.
we are writing together. She writes a lot of the lyrics. We write lyrics together, and song titles are mostly her idea. And then I will write music. She's playing drums, and
Hmm.
she tells me quite often to stop playing so much. And like so, we're recording everything at home, and I'll nerd out and record some new guitar parts and be really, really excited about it. And she'll be like, "Can you take that guitar part out? Like, we don't need that there." And I'm like, "Oh, I thought it was really cool." She's like, "No, it's just like cluttering everything up."
Yeah.
And she's usually right. And for this band, it works. So this has been really exciting to be like step away from that because I will definitely overwrite and think about things and try to find places to drop beats or make things longer or um, so yeah, I've always had that tendency. That's just how I've always written. I've never like tried to do that.
Yeah.
It's harder for me to write simpler. Like I
Yeah.
have to concentrate to do that and be like, oh, okay, so this is what we're doing and we're gonna kind of take it easy and just
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that because I don't think I've ever talked to anyone that swung to that side, and I really appreciate that. I love that part of the spectrum of what someone offers and what comes so naturally. It sounds like you and your wife work really well together, like the yin and the yang. And how
Yeah.
badass is it to play with your wife?
It's been really fun. Yeah, it's
I've
cool.
heard she's so cool.
She is cool. Yeah, she's pretty cool. We had our first rehearsal with a bass player and a guitar player last week, and I think I was really excited for her. I think I was more excited than she was. That I think it was her first time she's ever been in a rehearsal space with the whole band at one time.
Oh, that's
So
so
it was pretty
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
That's so cool. Um, and so you have Cheetah, to make sure people know the name of that project is Cheetah Cheetah, which is so
Cheetah Cheetah.
cool. And then you also have another project called Shut the Light for
Yeah.
the other swing
Yeah. Yeah.
harder music.
Yes.
Tell me, so is that kind of the kind of stuff that you grew up listening to, the real kind of heavier?
Yeah. A lot of it. Yeah. Not all. I consider that kind of, well, I'm calling it hardcore. I think it's hardcore music. I lived up in Boston for like 13 years.
Hmm.
So got to see a lot of that East Coast hardcore and stuff. And so I definitely had a phase with all of that. And I started listening to heavy music again. I guess like during towards the end of the pandemic, I had to start exercising because I just am old and realized that I needed to start exercising to stay healthy. So I
Hmm.
started listening to a lot of that music again, and it just kind of grabbed hold of me, and I was like, man, I'd really like to write some of this. Um, so it just kind of came about like that. I was making demos on my computer. The singer is Murph, an old friend of mine from Boston, and I just kind of hit him up and asked him if he would be willing to be a part of it and scream on it, and he was all for it. He's actually, I don't know if you've heard the last Sinclair, South Padre. There's a really heavy part at the end of the first song with screaming, and that's him screaming on that. And
Yeah.
so that was the first time we reconnected, and then I was like, well, let's just make a whole record, and so
And
we
he
did.
obliged.
Yeah. And then so
He,
Get Out of the City that you're talking about, the drummer on that, Judd Johnson,
mhm.
is the drummer in Shut the Light. It's the
Yeah.
same drummer, and he plays with a bunch of people over town. He's an old friend. I've been playing music with him forever. So I mentioned it to him one time. He was home for like 2 weeks from tour, and he's like, "Dude, I'm in that. That's my music. Like, I'll be back in 3 weeks. Wait for me." And so I was like, "All right." So we did, and yeah,
Yeah. I could see where that music would be really good when you're running and working out. When you go to a show, speaking of you guys are having a show, you're going to release an EP on February 23rd at Hole in the Wall. So make sure people write that down.
yeah.
What is a show like that? What does it look like? Is it like
I haven't been to
mosh?
one in a long time. I really haven't.
Better
I
stretch, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go see them in Boston, and I'll be honest, my kids are 7 and 8 now, and I don't really make it out to shows unless I'm playing in them, and I wish that I went to more because I'm definitely getting older, and I think to really stay relevant or be a part of a local music scene, you really need to show up to other people's stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm not really the best at that. I haven't been for the past 5 or 6 years. So I need to like try harder to do that stuff, but I'm in a bunch of bands again and we're playing a lot, so I'm actually out at least once a week anyway, so it's hard for me to I mean, I should be doing it anyways, but so to answer your question, I don't know because I haven't been to any local hardcore shows. But I know that there's a pretty good scene. I've been seeing they're doing matinees at the 13th floor on
Yeah.
weekends, like all ages shows.
Hmm.
And I know they're doing some other hardcore shows there. There's a bunch of really good hardcore bands here right now.
Yeah.
It looks like
Yeah.
it's thriving.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm seeing it for sure. Yeah. Just want people to prep and stretch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Drink plenty of water.
Right, yeah. I hope so. I hope it's that kind of show. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be quite the experience. Yeah, I hear you on getting out. I'm getting older as well. I'm in my late 40s and I love an early show.
yeah. Me too.
I love an early show, everybody.
Vegas on the spot shows are awesome.
Oh, it's just like if I can be like an 8:30 9 o'clock show, be in bed by 10:30 11 o'clock. I mean,
Yeah,
success,
yeah.
but I feel like as your kids, you have two daughters, correct?
Right.
So as your daughters get older, they will want to be around you less. I
Yeah,
can tell you, I have two teenagers now, and it's kind of like, well, I think I told you before we hit record, their new thing is like, I'll go in their room and I'll be like, hey.
yeah,
And after 4 minutes, it'll be like, thank you for stopping by, mom.
yeah.
You can go now.
Right. Yeah. Why are you in here?
Yeah, exactly. So you'll have so much free time in a few
Right,
years, is my point. So you're
right.
gonna be just fine. So you're busy. So you're playing with Booher, and Booher's starting to play out a little bit more than you guys have, which is awesome. I went
Yeah,
to that show where I met you actually at Sea Boys, which was really
yeah.
awesome. You guys packed the place, sounded good,
Thank you.
and yeah, it was really, really nice to see you all on the stage. How'd that feel?
It was good. I've really loved. So we normally we also have Keith who plays drums and Ace Sinclair normally plays with Booher too. He couldn't make that show, and we weren't gonna do it, but I guess the flyer got made anyways.
Mm.
So we just pushed through with a substitute, our friend Jacob, who did a great job.
He did great. I was
He
sitting
did
with his
great.
girlfriend and yeah, he did
He
great.
crushed. But we played all old Booher songs. We have a lot of new stuff that we've been working on with Keith, which has a lot more of what you were talking about, like the weird stuff in there. So that's where we couldn't really do it without Keith. It would have required a lot more rehearsals. So we just
Yeah.
went back to the old Booher record, and that was really fun. You know, those are great songs. So they were fun to play. I started a song in the wrong key for about a minute and a half before everybody came in. So
You
that was
did.
fun.
But you know what was I told you guys after, it was just so punk rock. I felt like here's the thing about a Booer show. And the music is similar to what you make too with your solo stuff. Is the songs are so interesting that they take you to a place that whole night, mistake and all. I felt like I was in your world and like from A to Z. I felt like I was in your world and you could mess up all you wanted. It didn't really matter because I buckled up and was on the ride. So it was almost cooler that you guys messed up, or you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
I just felt like this is so badass. I
that's cool.
loved it. I loved
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Booher
mean,
kept saying he loved it too. I think he was trying to make me feel better about it. And you know, I honestly didn't really care. I thought it was kind of funny too. I just wish it wasn't such a long intro. It was literally like half the song. And nobody knew till everybody else came in and they're like, whoa, what happened? I was like,
but I love the
it would
level
have been cooler if it was like a 10-second intro or something. There's a whole verse and chorus.
but I love it when the decision was made to start over. It was like, yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
tried to adjust and I was like, you know what, this isn't working. Let's just cut it. Start
I
over.
could see it happening. I could see it unfolding in slow motion. But again, it was so cool because you guys really give an experience and you give like full commitment to what you're doing and what you're singing and the intricacies and the dynamics of those songs. And it's different. It's not like you're standing up there going A plus B is C, A plus B is C. I mean, that's just not what you're doing. So
Yeah.
it's very, very interesting to like, I loved it. And the place was going wild and
Yeah, it was a great crowd. It was really fun.
it was awesome. So more of that, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I love playing in the Booher band. I mean, Booher's honestly, I've told him this before too, so I don't mind saying it. No, Booher's honestly like one of my favorite singers, like
Yeah,
of all time. You know, Booher's up there for me. He always has been. He has a very unique voice, so
he
um,
does. He
it's been fun
does.
to start playing with him for sure.
Yeah. So Booer, you're doing Cheetah Cheetah. When are you guys, I mean, I would assume it's the beginning of 2024. So are we gonna get some shows?
I think so. That's the plan. So like we've had our first practice with a guitar player and a bass player. We just finished our so we have 7 songs now. So we can start playing shows with 7 songs.
Yeah.
Nobody really needs to play more than 7 songs live anyways, but we all do. But 28 minutes, 30 minutes is good.
Yeah.
So I think we need like 4 or 5 more rehearsals. So hopefully in like 3 or 4 months we'll be playing. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled for that show. I can't wait to go to Cheetah Cheetah. I don't know if I have the chops to do a Shut the Light show.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'm curious. I'm very, very
Yeah,
curious. I love it. Just to remind people, Hole in the Wall on February 23rd for that show with Shut the Light.
thank you. Yeah.
What else do we want to talk about before we say goodbye?
I've also been playing in a band called Prismavoix that I should mention,
Oh
which
yeah.
is with a bunch of ladies that are great musicians. I met through at a birthday party of my daughter. One of her classmates' mom was looking for a drummer.
How
So we
sweet.
connected that way, and I've been playing with them for about 4 or 5 months. We've played 2 shows. It's kind of indie. I guess it's like in good indie rock stuff. It's cool. They
Yeah.
all sing, harmonize, and play keyboards and guitars and stuff.
Say the name of the band again.
Prismavoix,
Prismavoix. Cool.
Voix like Vieux,
Oh,
Prismavoix.
oh, very cool. Ooh, I'm gonna have to look that up.
I
Check
forget
that
what it
out.
means. It means something. But, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard that you're quite the multi-instrument guy. So you're a really good drummer, really good guitar player. What else do? You sing. I love your voice, by the
Thank
way.
you.
I love your voice. So unique and cool. What else do you
Thanks.
play?
I play bass. That's about it. Guitar, bass, and drums. Sing. Yeah,
Well,
can't
that's a
really.
whole band right there, Aaron.
Yeah, I can make stuff at my house for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, need a little help when you go to have a show, but
yeah.
that's awesome. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to for this new year? We're talking at the very beginning of the year.
Right. I feel like just more of some of these new projects, getting to play more shows and getting them off the ground, and hopefully making some sort of new A Sinclair record in the future. I've been really concentrating on this Booher record and writing Cheetah Cheetah and Shut the Light, and I haven't really. I've got like 4 or 5 A Sinclair songs, like ideas that are kind of choppily, or halfway recorded, but
Mhm.
hopefully get to spend some time on a new record for that this year as well. But it's been fun concentrating on these other things. I feel like I really needed to do that. And it's been
Yeah,
cool not to think about myself that much for a while. Because I made two during the pandemic in a room by myself, just constantly thinking about it. And it's been
yeah.
cool to think about other things with other people in a more collaborative setting.
Yeah, and I would assume that in doing that, I mean, I can listen to that and apply that to my life and go, yeah, that's I've probably experienced that too in ways. But musically, because you have the interface of music over this kind of experience, I would imagine that you would in little micro doses kind of, take things, learn things, and maybe over a little bit it changes you and evolves you a little bit as an artist. Interesting to go back to then creating and see what little tricks or what's been added, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I've always loved about playing drums is like playing other people's songs and seeing their process and how they write, and then
Mhm.
getting to be a part of writing on the other side, of it
Yeah.
not being your songs directly, but being a part of the arrangement, and yeah, that's what I've always loved about playing drums is playing other people's music. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're musical, your wife is musical. Are your daughters showing any interest?
They are showing my Sadie, the 8-year-old, has taken 3 piano lessons. She just started and she seems super into it. They both like music a lot. We listen to a lot of music in the house.
No to
I mean,
that.
Taylor Swift obviously happens. We try to try not to let it go too far. So we try to, turn them on to other things. Like Sylvan Esso is a band we all like that they like a lot. My wife actually took Sadie to see them at Stubbs last time they were in town.
Oh, sweet.
Um, and then we try to just turn them on to other things, not Taylor Swift too,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
cool. But I did get them both Taylor Swift vinyl records for Christmas, and they were really excited. They were really excited. They will come home and put a record on, which is pretty cool. So
Yeah, my daughter does the same thing. She got one for Christmas and she got a bunch of vinyl and yeah, now she just is in her room like listening to records, which I mean, I'm assuming you and I are fairly similar in age. Like that was my favorite part of being a kid was laying on my stomach with a vinyl on the floor and just, listening to it and then reading all of the notes, liner notes, and just pulling it out and looking at the pictures. I mean, that is when I think of being like 10, 11 years old, that's all I did.
yeah,
It's the best.
it's very
I'm glad
cool.
it's coming back so our kids can have that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, hold something in your hand and everything.
Yes, yes. Old school is the way to go.
Yeah,
Well, Aaron, thank you so much for stopping by and giving us a check-in to what's going on with you. I'm so excited about this year. You have so many great projects that you're doing. I feel like, throw a rock and we'll hit a show that you're playing in.
So yeah, that's the plan.
Awesome. Thank you again for coming on.
Thanks, Kat.
All right, that does it for this episode. Be sure to go to Hole in the Wall on February 23rd to see Shut the Light, and then follow A Sinclair. What's your Instagram?
A Sinclair Music, I believe.
Yeah, A Sinclair Music, and make sure to follow him and you can check out and see when he's playing next. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.